It was the moment when Trevor's mother, Patricia, pulled $100 bill from her purse, crumpled it up, and tossed it at Simone's feet like she was a street beggar. "Buy yourself something decent to wear," she said, her voice dripping with disgust. "It's embarrassing to have you sitting at our table looking like that." The whole family laughed while Simone stood there in her best dress, the one she had saved 3 months to buy, feeling her face burn with shame. That was the moment she knew with absolute clarity that these people saw her as nothing more than trash. What they did not know, what none of them could have possibly imagined, was that in 72 hours, Simone would receive news that would flip their entire world upside down. Simone Rivers had married Trevor Montgomery 3 years ago, believing in the fairy tale he had sold her. They had met at a coffee shop where she worked while finishing her business degree. Trevor had been charming, attentive, and seemed different from the wealthy men who usually treated service workers like they were invisible. He had pursued her relentlessly, promising her a life of partnership and respect. What Simone got instead was a life of quiet degradation. Tonight was supposed to be special. It was her 30th birthday, and Trevor had promised to take her somewhere nice. Instead, he brought her to his parents' mansion for what he called a family dinner. Simone should have known better. Every interaction with Trevor's family was a test she was designed to fail. She sat at the far end of the long dining table, dressed in her navy blue dress with a small tear in the hem she had carefully hidden with a safety pin. Trevor sat at the opposite end, next to his mother, barely looking in Simone's direction. His father, Robert, held court at the head of the table, discussing business deals and investments in numbers that made Simone's head spin. Trevor's sister, Nicole, kept shooting Simone looks of pure contempt while showing off her new diamond bracelet. "So, Simone," Patricia said, her voice cutting through the conversation like a knife. "Are you still working at that little office? What is it you do again? Filing?" "I'm an administrative coordinator," Simone replied quietly. "I manage operations for a medical office." "How quaint," Nicole said with a smirk. "Trevor, remember when you used to date Amanda? She was a surgeon." Now that was impressive. Trevor said nothing, just sipped his wine and avoided Simone's eyes. "I just don't understand," Patricia continued, as if Simone was not even there. "Trevor could have married anyone. Someone from a good family. Someone with connections. Instead, he brought home a girl with no background, no money, no prospects." "Mother," Trevor said weakly, but there was no real protest in his voice. "No, let me finish," Patricia said, her eyes now directly on Simone. "Do you know how embarrassing it is for us? Our friends ask about Trevor's wife, and what can we say? That he married his barista?" "I wasn't a barista," Simone said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was finishing my degree." "Oh yes, your degree," Robert interrupted with a harsh laugh. "From that community college. Very impressive." The humiliation continued through dinner. They criticized everything about her. Her hair, her accent, her lack of knowledge about wines, her inability to contribute to their conversations about vacation homes and stock portfolios. Simone sat there, cutting her food into smaller and smaller pieces, swallowing both the expensive meal and her dignity. When dessert came, Trevor's mother had the staff bring out a small cupcake with a single candle. "I would have ordered a proper cake," Patricia said, "but we were not sure you were coming. Trevor mentioned you might have to work." "It's my birthday," Simone said softly. "I requested the day off weeks ago." "Well, make a wish then," Nicole said with false enthusiasm. "Though I'm not sure what someone in your position could wish for. More realistic expectations, perhaps?" Simone closed her eyes and blew out the candle. She did not wish for love or acceptance from these people. She wished for escape, for freedom, for the strength to leave this nightmare behind. After dinner, while the family retired to the sitting room for drinks, Trevor pulled Simone aside. She thought maybe finally he would defend her. Instead, he said, "Try to be more engaging next time. My family thinks you're boring." "They spent the entire night insulting me," Simone replied, tears threatening to spill. "They're just trying to help you improve. You're too sensitive." Trevor checked his phone, frowning at the screen. "I need to make some work calls. Why don't you help the staff clean up? Make yourself useful." And just like that, he walked away, leaving Simone standing in the hallway of his parents' mansion, alone on her birthday. She found herself in the kitchen, where the housekeeper, Rosa, gave her a sympathetic look. "You don't have to do this, honey. It's fine," Simone said, gathering plates. "I don't want to go back out there anyway." As she loaded the dishwasher, she could hear their laughter from the other room. She heard her name mentioned, followed by more laughter. Patricia's voice carried, "I give it another year before Trevor comes to his senses." That girl has nothing to offer. Simone's hands trembled as she washed the crystal glasses, expensive things worth more than her monthly rent. She was careful not to break anything because she knew they would make her pay for it somehow. They always did. By the time she finished cleaning, it was past midnight. Trevor found her and said they were leaving. The drive home was silent. When they got to their small apartment, the one Simone paid for with her salary while Trevor's money went to investments, he immediately went to his office and closed the door. Simone sat on their bed, still in her blue dress with a hidden tear, and let herself cry. She cried for the girl who had believed in love. She cried for the woman who had allowed herself to be treated this way. She cried for the years she had wasted trying to be good enough for people who would never see her value. What she did not know was that across the ocean, in a law office in Paris, a lawyer was preparing documents that would change everything. In 3 days, Simone would receive a phone call. In 2 weeks, she would learn the truth about who she really was. And in 3 months, every single person who had laughed at her tonight would be begging for her mercy. But tonight, she was just Simone, the girl they treated like trash, lying in bed next to a man who had stopped loving her long ago, if he ever had at all. Tonight, she was still trapped. The only sound in the apartment was Trevor's voice through the office door, low and intimate, talking to someone on the phone. "I know, baby," he said, his voice tender in a way it never was with Simone. "Just a little longer. Once I get the promotion, I'll file for divorce. Then we can be together properly." Simone heard every word. She turned her face into the pillow and made no sound. She had learned long ago that her pain only annoyed him. Tomorrow she would wake up and pretend everything was normal. She would go to work, come home, cook dinner, and be the invisible wife they all wanted her to be. But inside, something had shifted. The humiliation of tonight had been the final crack in a foundation that had been crumbling for years. Simone did not know about the inheritance yet. She did not know about the $800 million or the grandmother she had never met. She did not know that revenge was coming. But somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispered that this could not be her life forever. Something had to change. And it would. In ways that none of them could ever imagine. Monday morning came too quickly. Simone woke up before dawn, as she always did, to make Trevor's breakfast and prepare his clothes for work. He barely grunted a thank you before leaving, his phone pressed to his ear, talking in hushed tones as he walked out the door. The moment he left, the apartment felt bigger, like she could finally breathe. Simone got ready for work in the quiet, putting on her simple gray pants and white blouse. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. When had she become so small? When had the light in her eyes dimmed so completely? Her phone buzzed with a text from Trevor. "Need you to pick up my dry cleaning. Also, my mother wants you to call her about volunteering at her charity thing." "No, please." "No, thank you. Just demands." Simone typed back a simple okay and finished getting ready. But as she was about to leave, she remembered that Trevor had asked her to find his cufflinks in his office. She usually avoided his office because he had made it clear it was his private space, but he had specifically told her to look for them. She opened the office door and stepped inside. The room smelled like his cologne and expensive leather. His desk was cluttered with papers, files from work, and his laptop sitting open. Simone found the cufflinks quickly in the top drawer, but as she was closing it, she noticed something odd. There was a receipt for a hotel. The Riverside Inn. Dated last Tuesday, when Trevor had said he was at a business conference in Chicago. The Riverside Inn was 20 minutes away. Simone's heart began to race. She told herself there could be an explanation. Maybe it was for a client meeting. Maybe it was a mistake. But her hands were already moving, opening other drawers, looking for she did not even know what. In the bottom drawer, hidden under a stack of folders, she found a phone. Not Trevor's regular phone. A second phone. A secret phone. Her fingers trembled as she turned it on. No password. Why would he need a password on a phone nobody was supposed to know about? The messages loaded. Dozens of them. All from someone named V. Simone clicked on the thread and felt her world collapse. The messages were explicit. Photos. Plans. Conversations that made it clear this had been going on for a long time. Years, not months. The woman's name was Vanessa. Trevor called her baby and my love, and all the sweet names he had not used for Simone in over a year. But worse than the affair itself were the messages about Simone. V, did you tell her yet? Trevor, not yet. After my promotion. Can't risk her getting vindictive before I secure everything. V, she's so pathetic. How do you even stand living with her? Trevor, I don't see her much. She's basically the housekeeper at this point. Makes life easier. Free maid service. V, your mom was hilarious at dinner. Did you see her throw that money at Simone? I was dying. Trevor, mom went too far, but yeah, Simone just takes it. She has no self-respect. Makes me sick, honestly. V, when you leave her, she'll have nothing. No money, no prospects. She'll probably end up back in whatever trailer park she came from. Trevor, don't care. She'll be someone else's problem. Simone sat down in Trevor's expensive office chair, the secret phone shaking in her hands. She felt like she might throw up. 2 years. They had been mocking her for 2 years. Vanessa had been at her birthday dinner. She had been there watching Patricia humiliate Simone and laughing about it later with Trevor. She scrolled further back in the messages. There were photos of Vanessa wearing jewelry that Simone recognized, pieces Trevor had said were work bonuses that he kept at the office. There were screenshots of Simone's bank statements. Her personal bank statements. That was when she noticed something else. Her savings account, the one she had been contributing to for years, had been slowly draining. Small transfers. $50 here, $100 there. All going to an account she did not recognize. Trevor had been stealing from her. Her small salary from the medical office, money she had carefully saved despite paying most of their household bills, had been disappearing into Trevor's pocket. Money he then used to buy gifts for Vanessa. Simone wanted to scream. She wanted to throw things. She wanted to confront Trevor and his terrible family and Vanessa and burn down their entire world. But something stopped her. A small voice of survival that said, "Don't react. Don't let them know you know. Be smart." She took out her own phone and began taking photos. Photos of every message. Every photo. Every receipt she could find in his drawers. She found his work laptop and discovered even more. Trevor had been embezzling from his company, small amounts he thought no one would notice. He had been forging documents. She did not understand all of it, but she photographed everything. When she was done, she carefully put everything back exactly as she had found it. She placed the cufflinks on the kitchen counter where Trevor would see them. She locked the office door. She went to work. All day, Simone moved through her tasks like a robot. She answered phones, filed paperwork, smiled at patients. Her coworkers asked if she was feeling okay. She said she was just tired. Inside, she was calculating, planning, thinking about lawyers and divorce and how to escape this nightmare without losing everything. Because that was what they expected, was it not? They expected her to be the pathetic woman with no options who would just accept whatever they decided to give her. They expected her to walk away with nothing, broken and defeated. But Simone was done being what they expected. That night, Trevor came home late. "Working dinner?" he said, not meeting her eyes. Simone could smell perfume on his jacket. Vanessa's perfume, probably. "How was your day?" she asked, her voice steady. "Fine. Listen, I need you to do something for me. My mother's charity gala is next month. She needs volunteers. You should do it. Might help you make some connections with better people." "Better people," Simone repeated. "You know what I mean. People who could help you improve yourself." Trevor loosened his tie, the one she had ironed that morning. "Also, I need you to pick up an extra shift at work if you can. Money's tight." Money was not tight. Trevor made 6 figures. But Simone said nothing. She just nodded. That night, lying in bed next to her cheating husband, Simone made a plan. She would gather more evidence. She would find a lawyer. She would protect herself financially. She would wait for the right moment. What she did not know was that the right moment was coming faster than she could have imagined. Because tomorrow, her life was about to change in a way that would turn everything upside down. Tomorrow, a lawyer from Paris would call. Tomorrow, she would learn about the grandmother she never knew existed. Tomorrow, everything would shift. But tonight, she was still just Simone, lying in the dark, listening to Trevor snore beside her, holding on to her anger like a weapon she was learning to sharpen. Tonight, she was still planning a small, careful escape. She had no idea she was about to become one of the wealthiest women in the country. She had no idea that her revenge would be bigger than anything she could imagine. She had no idea that Trevor and his family were about to face consequences that would destroy everything they had built. For now, she just held her phone, looking at the photos she had taken, and whispered to herself in the darkness, "I'm going to make you all pay." The next morning started like every other. Simone made breakfast, Trevor left without eating it, and she got ready for another day of pretending everything was normal. But when she checked her mailbox before leaving for work, there was a letter. Not a bill or junk mail. A thick envelope with an international stamp and an address in Paris, France. The return address read, Laurent and Associates, Estate Law. Simone's hands trembled as she opened it in her car. Inside was a formal letter written in English, though some French legal terms were scattered throughout. Dear Miss Simone Rivers, it is with deep regret that we inform you of the passing of Madame Colette Beaumont, your maternal grandmother. As the sole living heir to Madame Beaumont's estate, we require your presence in Paris for the formal reading of the will and transfer of assets. Please contact our office at your earliest convenience to arrange travel. All expenses will be covered by the estate. This matter is time-sensitive and requires your immediate attention. Our sincere condolences for your loss. Simone read the letter 3 times. Her grandmother? She had a grandmother in France? Her mother had never mentioned any family overseas. In fact, her mother had died when Simone was 12, and she had always been told they had no other relatives. Simone had grown up in foster care because supposedly there was no family to take her in. Now there was a letter saying she had a grandmother. Had a grandmother. Past tense. Dead now. And Simone had never known she existed. She called the number on the letterhead. A woman answered in accented English. Laurent and Associates, how may I assist you? This is Simone Rivers. I received a letter about Colette Beaumont. Ah yes, Ms. Rivers. We have been trying to locate you for several weeks. Can you verify your mother's name? Michelle Rivers. She died 18 years ago. Yes, that matches our records. Michelle Beaumont, who changed her name to Rivers. I apologize for the confusion. Your grandmother has been searching for you since your mother's passing, but there were complications with the records. Simone felt dizzy. I don't understand. Why didn't anyone tell me I had a grandmother? That is a complicated matter, Ms. Rivers. It would be better discussed in person. Can you travel to Paris? We will arrange everything. First-class tickets, hotel accommodations, all expenses covered. I have a job. I can't just. Ms. Rivers, I must be frank with you. Your grandmother's estate is substantial. This is not a small inheritance. You are the sole beneficiary of assets worth approximately $800 million. The phone slipped from Simone's hand. She fumbled to catch it. What did you say? $800 million, Ms. Rivers? Plus properties in France, England, and Monaco. Your grandmother was a very wealthy woman. She owned a historic chateau, several businesses, and had extensive investments. All of it is now yours. Simone could not breathe. This had to be a scam. This could not be real. People like her did not inherit hundreds of millions of dollars. People like her struggled to pay rent. I need proof, she said. This doesn't make sense. Of course. I will email you documentation immediately. Birth certificates, death certificates, the preliminary estate valuation. Everything legal and verified. Ms. Rivers, I understand this is overwhelming. Take the day to process. But please call us back. Your grandmother wanted very much to find you before she passed. She left you letters, explanations, and a great deal of wealth. The lawyer gave Simone her email address and hung up. Simone sat in her car outside her apartment building, unable to move. $800 million. It was not real. Could not be real. Her phone pinged. Email from Laurent and Associates. She opened it and saw scanned documents. Her mother's birth certificate, listing Colette Beaumont as the mother. Marriage certificate showing Colette had been married to a wealthy French businessman who died young. Death certificate for Colette, dated 3 weeks ago. And a preliminary estate document listing assets. The chateau alone was worth $50 million. Simone read everything twice, then 3 times. This was real. This was actually real. She had a grandmother. A grandmother who had been looking for her. A grandmother who had died before they could meet. A grandmother who left her everything. And she had been living in poverty, working herself to exhaustion, being treated like garbage by Trevor and his family, all while she had a family fortune waiting for her. All because records were lost when her mother died. All because she had been placed in foster care under her mother's changed name, and Colette had been searching for Michelle Beaumont's daughter, not Michelle Rivers' daughter. Simone started laughing, then crying, then laughing again. She sat in her car and let it all out. The shock, the grief for a grandmother she never knew, the rage at years lost, and something else. Something that felt like power awakening after being asleep for so long. $800 million. Trevor thought she was worthless. His family threw money at her feet. They mocked her poverty. They planned to divorce her and leave her with nothing. And she was worth $800 million. Simone wiped her tears and started the car. She did not go to work. She called in sick, which she never did. Then she drove to the nicest hotel in the city and booked a room. She needed space to think. Space away from Trevor. Space to process what she had just learned. In the hotel room, she spread out all the documents on the bed. She called the lawyer back. They spoke for 2 hours. The lawyer explained everything. Colette had married into wealth, then built her own fortune through smart investments. When her husband died, she ran his businesses better than he ever had. She had one daughter, Michelle, who fell in love with an American man and moved to the United States. They had a fight, something about Colette not approving of the marriage. Michelle changed her name and cut contact. When Michelle died, Colette tried to find Simone but hit dead end after dead end. The foster care system had records under Rivers, not Beaumont. It took years and multiple private investigators. By the time Colette found her, she was already sick. She died before she could make contact. But she made sure her lawyers found Simone. Made sure everything was left to her only grandchild. She wrote you letters, the lawyer said. 23 of them. One for each year she missed. They're waiting for you here. Simone cried again. She had a grandmother who loved her, who looked for her, who left her everything not just because of obligation but because she wanted to. I need to come to Paris, Simone said. I need to see everything. I need to read the letters. Of course. When can you travel? Soon. I have some things to handle here first. Simone looked at her wedding ring. Some things to put in order. After she hung up, Simone sat in silence. She thought about Trevor and his affair, his theft, his mother's cruelty, Nicole's disdain. All of them so certain she was beneath them, so sure she had nothing to offer. She thought about the secret phone, the messages, the years of humiliation, and then she smiled. Not a happy smile, a dangerous smile. She was not going to tell Trevor about the inheritance. Not yet. She was going to let him continue with his plan. Let him think she was still poor, still desperate, still the pathetic wife they could discard whenever convenient. She was going to gather more evidence of his fraud. She was going to prepare everything carefully. And then, when the moment was right, she was going to destroy them all. Simone opened her laptop and started making lists. Lawyers she needed to hire. Evidence she needed to gather. Documents she needed to secure. She had been surviving for so long that she had forgotten what it felt like to plan for victory. But now, with resources beyond her imagination, with power she had never dreamed of having, she could do more than survive. She could win. By the time she returned to the apartment that evening, Trevor was already home, annoyed that dinner was not ready. Where were you? He demanded. I had to run errands, Simone said calmly. You could have texted. I'm starving. I'll make something now. She cooked pasta while Trevor complained about his day. She listened and nodded and played the role she had been playing for years. But inside she was different. Inside she was already free. That night, while Trevor slept, Simone booked a ticket to Paris. She told Trevor she had to visit a sick friend for a few days. He barely paid attention, just waved his hand in dismissal. She arranged for a lawyer consultation through the estate attorneys. She opened a new bank account at a different institution, one Trevor did not know about. She moved through her plan step by step, careful and precise. Because she had learned something important. Desperate people made mistakes. Hasty people left openings. But patient people, people who planned carefully and struck at the right moment, those people won. And Simone was going to win. She was going to take everything. Not just her inheritance. Not just her freedom. She was going to take their reputations, their pride, their certainty that they were better than her. Trevor and his family had treated her like trash. They had no idea they had been stepping on a queen the entire time. And when she rose up, when she showed them who she really was, it would be too late for apologies. Too late for mercy. The next 2 weeks were the hardest of Simone's life. Not because of the work or the stress, but because she had to pretend. She had to continue being the meek, submissive wife while knowing everything she now knew. Every insult from Trevor's family felt different. Every casual cruelty from Trevor himself took on a new meaning. They thought they were breaking her. They had no idea she was gathering ammunition. Simone's trip to Paris had been postponed because of Trevor's mother's charity gala. Patricia had called and demanded Simone volunteer, and Simone could not risk raising suspicions by refusing. So she smiled and said yes and spent her evenings addressing envelopes for a woman who despised her. But during her lunch breaks, Simone had video calls with her lawyers in Paris. She had calls with estate managers. She had calls with financial advisors who explained her new portfolio in terms she barely understood. $800 million was not just money sitting in a bank account. It was investments, properties, businesses, art collections. It was power. The lawyers in Paris connected her with a firm in her city. Not just any firm. The best firm. The kind of firm that Trevor's family used. Simone met with them in secret, always during work hours when Trevor thought she was filing papers at the medical office. Her lead attorney, Catherine, was a sharp woman in her 50s who had handled cases far more complicated than Simone's. When Simone showed her the evidence she had gathered, Trevor's secret phone messages, the receipts, the bank statements showing theft, Catherine's eyes lit up. "This is good," Catherine said. "Very good. But we need more. We need to document everything. The affair, yes, but also any financial impropriety. You mentioned he works in finance? He's a senior analyst at Morrison and Fletcher. Good. If he's embezzling from you, he might be embezzling from them. Corporate fraud adds criminal charges to our leverage. Keep gathering evidence. Don't confront him. Don't let him know you know anything." "How long?" Simone asked. "How long do I have to keep pretending? Until we have everything we need. Until all your assets are protected and all your documentation is in order. These things take time." Simone had already wasted 3 years of her life with Trevor. What was a few more weeks if it meant destroying him completely? So she played the part. She was the perfect, quiet wife. She cooked his meals. She cleaned the apartment. She listened to him complain about work while her skin crawled with the knowledge of what he was really doing. She went to family dinners at Patricia's mansion and endured the insults with a calm smile. At one dinner, Patricia announced that she was planning a big family vacation to the Bahamas. "Family only," she said, looking directly at Simone. "No outsiders. Trevor, you should come. It will be good for you to relax with your real family." Trevor nodded. "Sounds great, Mother. When are you going?" Simone asked. "December." "Why do you ask?" "You weren't invited." "I was just curious." Nicole laughed. "Did you think you were coming? That's adorable. This is for people who actually belong to this family." Simone smiled and said nothing. Let them have their vacation. By December, they would not be able to afford it anyway. Between family obligations, Simone worked with the private investigator Catherine had hired. The investigator, a former police detective named Mr. Harrison, followed Trevor and documented everything. Photos of Trevor and Vanessa at hotels. Credit card statements for expensive dinners and jewelry. Evidence of dozens of affairs over the years, not just Vanessa. "Your husband is arrogant," Mr. Harrison told Simone. "He doesn't even try to hide it well. He thinks he's untouchable." "He's about to learn differently," Simone replied. The investigator also looked into Trevor's work. It took some digging, but he found it. Trevor had been skimming money from client accounts. Small amounts, moved through complicated transactions, but definitely illegal. The kind of illegal that meant prison time if discovered. "This is federal crime territory," Mr. Harrison said. "If you want to really hurt him, we report this to his company and the authorities." "Not yet," Simone said. "I want everything ready. I want to hit him with everything at once so he has no time to cover his tracks or make deals." Her Paris lawyers arranged for her to fly over for a quick weekend. Trevor barely noticed she was gone. She told him it was a girls' trip with old college friends and he just shrugged. He was probably glad to have the apartment to himself so Vanessa could come over. In Paris, Simone saw her grandmother's chateau for the first time. It took her breath away. The estate was massive, with gardens and fountains and centuries of history in every stone. Her grandmother's lawyer showed her through the house, pointing out priceless paintings and furniture that belonged in museums. "All of this is yours now," the lawyer said. "Your grandmother wanted you to know where you came from. She wanted you to have what was rightfully yours." Simone read her grandmother's letters in the chateau's library. All 23 of them. Each one written on Simone's birthday, telling her about Colette's life, her regrets, her love for the granddaughter she never got to meet. By the end, Simone was sobbing. "I wish I had known you," she whispered to the empty room. But her grandmother had given her something more valuable than just money. She had given her roots. Identity. Proof that she came from strength and resilience. That she was not the worthless girl Trevor and his family tried to make her believe she was. When Simone returned home, she was different. Not on the outside. On the outside, she was still quiet Simone, still playing the role. But inside, she was Simone Beaumont. Heiress. Granddaughter of a woman who had built an empire. And she was ready to reclaim everything that had been stolen from her. Trevor noticed nothing. His mother noticed nothing. They were all too busy planning their lives as if Simone did not exist. At another family dinner, Patricia announced that Trevor was up for a major promotion. "Finally," she said. "Once you make partner, we can stop pretending about your marriage. You can get a proper divorce and find someone suitable." Simone was standing right there serving salad. They talked about her divorce as if she was a piece of furniture. I'm waiting until the promotion is official, Trevor said. Don't want any complications. Smart, Robert agreed. Never let emotions interfere with business. Though I don't know what you saw in her in the first place. Temporary insanity, Trevor joked, and they all laughed. Simone set down the salad bowl and excused herself to the bathroom. She locked the door and looked at herself in the mirror. One more month. Catherine had said one more month until everything was ready. One more month of this torture. She could do it. She had survived this long. When she came back out, Vanessa was there. Apparently she was now invited to family dinners. She and Trevor did not hide their intimacy. Patricia was complimentary, telling Vanessa how lovely she was, how accomplished, how she would make such a better match for Trevor than the current situation. Simone served them all dinner and said nothing. But she watched. She memorized their faces. She wanted to remember this moment. Wanted to remember their smugness. Because when everything fell apart, she wanted to recall exactly how confident they had been. That night, Trevor did not even come to bed. Simone knew where he was. With Vanessa, probably. It did not matter anymore. He had made his choice. Now she was making hers. She pulled out her phone and texted Catherine, "I'm ready. Whatever it takes, however long, I'm ready. Let's destroy them." Catherine's response came quickly, "Good. Because I just received the evidence we needed about his corporate fraud. He stole over $2 million from clients. When we present this to his company and the authorities, he's finished. Are you sure you want to do this?" Simone looked at the empty space in the bed beside her. She thought about the grandmother she never met. She thought about the years of abuse and humiliation. She thought about Trevor's laughter when his mother threw money at her feet. "Yes," she typed back. "I'm sure. Let's end this." 3 weeks later, Simone set her plan in motion. She told Patricia she wanted to host a family dinner at the apartment as a thank you for all their support. Patricia was surprised but agreed, probably curious to see what pathetic display Simone would put on. Simone cleaned the apartment until it gleamed. She cooked an elaborate meal, spending money she did not seem to have. Trevor questioned it, but Simone said she had saved up. "I want to make a good impression," she said meekly. "News?" Trevor asked, suspicious. "A surprise. A good one. I think your family will be pleased." Trevor seemed satisfied with that. He probably assumed she was going to announce she was getting a second job or something equally pathetic. He had no idea what was coming. The dinner was set for Saturday evening. Patricia arrived first with Robert, both dressed like they were attending a charity gala, not dinner at their son's small apartment. Nicole came with her husband, both of them looking around the modest space with barely concealed disgust. "Well," Patricia said, "you've made an effort at least. It's still quite small, isn't it?" "We make do," Simone said, her voice perfectly humble. They sat down to dinner. Simone had made all of Patricia's favorite dishes, had bought expensive wine, had set the table with care. She played the perfect hostess, serving everyone, making sure glasses stayed full, accepting their backhanded compliments with grace. I think I have bigger news." "Oh." Patricia perked up. "Is it about the promotion?" "Better. But Simone, you go first. What's your little announcement?" Simone stood up, smoothing her dress. "I wanted to thank you all for everything you've done for me these past 3 years. You've taught me so much about who I really am and what I deserve." Nicole snorted. "Is this going to be a long speech? Because the food is getting cold." "No, it won't be long. A modest salary increase. I know it's not much compared to what you're all used to, but I'm proud of myself." Patricia waved her hand dismissively. "How nice for you. Trevor, what's your news?" Trevor stood, putting his hand on Simone's shoulder. She forced herself not to flinch. "My news is a bit more significant. Mother, father, everyone, I think it's time we were honest about something. This marriage isn't working. It never really worked. I've been trying to make the best of it, but Simone and I want different things." "You're getting divorced?" Nicole said gleefully. "Yes. I wanted to tell you all together because you're my family and your support means everything to me." Patricia clapped her hands. "Finally. Trevor, this is wonderful news. You can start fresh. Find someone appropriate." "I already have," Trevor said. "I'd like you to meet someone." On cue, there was a knock at the door. Trevor went to answer it, and Vanessa walked in, wearing a designer dress and a smile. She was showing slightly, her hand resting on her stomach in a way that was clearly meant to draw attention. "Everyone, this is Vanessa. We've been seeing each other for 2 years. And she's pregnant with my child." The room erupted in congratulations. Patricia stood and hugged Vanessa. Robert shook Trevor's hand. Nicole gushed about how perfect this was. They were all so happy. So relieved. No one looked at Simone. Except Vanessa. She looked right at Simone with triumph in her eyes. I hope there are no hard feelings, she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Trevor and I didn't mean for it to happen this way. But when you find real love, you can't ignore it. Simone stood there, watching them all celebrate the destruction of her marriage. Watching them rejoice in her humiliation. This was the moment they had been waiting for. The moment they could finally get rid of her. Patricia turned to Simone. I hope you'll make this easy. Trevor deserves to be happy. He deserves a real wife, not whatever this was. I understand, Simone said quietly. Then she smiled. Actually, this makes everything much easier. I was worried about how to handle things, but you've all made it very simple. What do you mean? Trevor asked. I mean, thank you. For showing me exactly who you are. For making it clear that there's nothing here worth saving. She walked to the door and opened it. You all should probably sit down. Excuse me? Patricia said. This is still your apartment, isn't it? You can't order us around. Actually, said a new voice, this apartment is being seized as part of a fraud investigation. Catherine walked in, followed by another lawyer Simone did not recognize. Behind them was Mr. Harrison, the private investigator, and someone in a business suit who looked official and serious. Who are you? Trevor demanded, his face going pale. Catherine Chin, representing Mrs. Simone Rivers in divorce proceedings. This is Daniel Park, representing Morrison and Fletcher in a fraud investigation. And this is Agent Torres from the Financial Crimes Unit. Trevor Montgomery, you're being served with divorce papers, a civil lawsuit, and a criminal investigation notice. The room went silent. Trevor stared at the papers Catherine handed him. What is this? This is insane. This is the result of your 2-year affair, your theft from your wife's personal accounts, and your embezzlement of over $2 million from your company, Catherine said calmly. We have evidence of all of it. Messages, photos, bank records. Everything. You've been spying on me? Trevor shouted at Simone. How dare you? How dare I? Simone's voice was still calm, but it had an edge now. How dare you? You stole from me. You cheated on me. You and your entire family treated me like garbage for 3 years. Did you think I would just accept it forever? Patricia stood up. Now wait just a minute. Our family has done nothing wrong. You're just bitter and jealous. Your family has done plenty wrong, Catherine said. Aiding and abetting financial fraud. Harassment. Your charity organization also has some interesting financial discrepancies we'll be looking into. Patricia's face went white. The lawyer from Morrison and Fletcher spoke up. Mr. Montgomery, effective immediately, you're terminated. We'll be pursuing full legal action for the funds you stole. We have evidence you were planning to flee the country with company assets. That's not true, Trevor said, but his voice shook. We have your messages with Vanessa discussing opening accounts in the Cayman Islands, the lawyer said. Did you think we wouldn't find them? Everyone turned to look at Vanessa, who suddenly looked like she wanted to disappear. I didn't know it was illegal, she whispered. Trevor said it was just smart investing. Sure, Catherine said. That's what they all say. Simone watched it all unfold. Watched Trevor's face turn red, then pale. Watched Patricia sputter and try to take control of a situation that was beyond her reach. Watched Nicole and her husband edge toward the door. Watched Vanessa realize she had attached herself to a sinking ship. There's one more thing, Simone said. All eyes turned to her. This apartment? The one you all mocked for being so small and cheap? I paid for it. Every month. With my salary. Trevor contributed nothing. So actually, this is my apartment. And I'm asking all of you to leave. You can't afford this apartment on your salary, Patricia scoffed. Trevor told us he pays for everything. Trevor lied to you. Just like he lied to me. Just like he lied to his company. He's very good at lying. Simone looked at each of them. But the lies are over now. Everything is coming out. His fraud. His theft. His affair. All of it. This is absurd, Robert said. We'll fight this. We have the best lawyers. Not better than mine, Simone said. And speaking of which, there's something else you should know. Catherine handed her a folder. Simone opened it and pulled out documentation. 3 weeks ago, I inherited my grandmother's estate in France. Her name was Colette Beaumont. You wouldn't know her. She was wealthy enough that your family looks poor by comparison. The room went very quiet. I am now worth approximately $800 million. I own a chateau in France, a house in Monaco, properties in London. I have investments, businesses, assets you couldn't imagine. All of it mine. All of it inherited from a grandmother I never got to meet because my mother cut ties with her family. Trevor dropped the papers he was holding. You're lying. Simone pulled out her phone and showed them documentation. Bank statements, property deeds, official legal documents from Paris. I'm not lying. While you were all mocking my poverty, while you were throwing money at my feet and laughing at my cheap clothes, I was becoming one of the wealthiest women in the state. I just didn't tell you. Patricia sat down heavily. This isn't possible. It's very possible. And here's what's going to happen now. Trevor, you're going to face criminal charges for fraud. You'll likely spend 5 years in prison if you're lucky. Your company is going to sue you for damages. You'll lose everything. She turned to Patricia. Your charity is going to be audited. I have some questions about where the donations actually go. The IRS will be very interested in your tax returns. She looked at Nicole. Your husband works for a company that does business with Morrison and Fletcher. When they find out he's related to Trevor, that connection won't help his career. Finally, she looked at Vanessa. And you? You're pregnant with the child of a man who is about to be homeless and in prison. He can't afford child support. He can't afford anything. You backed the wrong horse. Vanessa started crying. I didn't know. He told me he was getting divorced anyway. He told me his family was rich. His family was comfortable until they started living beyond their means, trying to look richer than they are, Catherine said. The audit will show that. They're over-leveraged and barely holding on. One scandal and it all falls apart. You can't do this, Trevor said, his voice desperate now. Simone, please. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. I made mistakes, but nothing. Simone cut him off. You treated me like trash. You made me feel worthless. You stole from me. You cheated on me for years. You and your family humiliated me over and over. And you know what the worst part is? You were never going to stop. You were just going to divorce me and leave me with nothing and move on with your life like I never mattered. I'm sorry, Trevor said, and he was actually crying now. I'm so sorry. Please don't do this. I'm not doing this. You did this. All of it. I'm just making sure you face the consequences. Simone walked to the door and held it open. Now get out. All of you. Out of my apartment. Out of my life. Forever. They filed out slowly, stunned and silent. Patricia tried one last time. We can make a deal. We can fix this. There's nothing to fix, Simone said. You wanted me gone. Well, now I'm gone. But I'm taking everything with me. My dignity. My future. And your reputations. When they were all gone, when the door finally closed behind them, Simone stood in her apartment and breathed. Catherine put a hand on her shoulder. You did well, Catherine said. That took courage. That took rage, Simone replied. And 3 years of pain. What now? Simone looked around the small apartment, the place she had tried so hard to make into a home with a man who never cared. Now I go to Paris. Now I claim my real life. Now I start over as the person I was always meant to be. And them? Let them destroy themselves. They're very good at it. Simone smiled, and this time it was a real smile. I'm done with revenge. I have better things to do. Like live. The aftermath was chaos. Within 24 hours, Trevor's arrest was all over the news. Local financial analysts charged with embezzlement. Read the headlines. Morrison and Fletcher released a statement condemning his actions and announcing their full cooperation with authorities. Trevor's mugshot circulated on social media. In it, he looked nothing like the confident man who had once convinced Simone she was lucky to have him. Simone did not watch the news coverage. She was too busy packing. She had hired movers to put her belongings in storage and had booked a one-way ticket to Paris. Catherine handled all the legal details of the divorce, ensuring Trevor could not touch anything that was Simone's. Not that he had anything to offer. His bank accounts were frozen. His assets were being seized. The man who had once mocked Simone's poverty was now the one with nothing. Patricia called 47 times in 2 days. Simone blocked her number. Nicole sent dozens of texts begging Simone to reconsider pressing charges against their family business. Simone deleted them all without reading past the first few words. Vanessa showed up at the apartment crying, asking if Simone could help with Trevor's legal fees because she was pregnant and scared. You participated in destroying my marriage, Simone said through the door, not even opening it. You laughed at my humiliation. You called me pathetic. Now you want my help? The answer is no. Figure it out yourself. But the baby, Vanessa sobbed. The baby has a father. Unfortunately for both of you, that father is a criminal. That's not my problem. That's yours. You chose him knowing he was married. You mocked me knowing I was being betrayed. Actions have consequences. Now you're learning that. Simone did not feel guilty. Maybe she should have, but she did not. These people had shown her no mercy. Why should she show them any? The day before her flight to Paris, Simone went to the medical office where she had worked for 3 years. Her boss, Dr. Martinez, was sad to see her go but understood. You deserve better than this, she said, hugging Simone. You always did. I'm glad you're finally seeing it yourself. Thank you for being kind, Simone said. You were one of the only people who treated me like I mattered. You do matter. Don't ever forget that. Simone cleaned out her desk and said goodbye to her coworkers. They had planned a small party which made her cry. These people who barely knew her cared more about her leaving than Trevor's family ever cared about her staying. That night, Simone sat in her empty apartment and called Catherine for a final update. Trevor took a plea deal, Catherine said. 5 years, out in 3 with good behavior. He's also liable for full restitution to Morrison and Fletcher. He'll be paying them back for the rest of his life. And his family? The IRS is auditing Patricia's charity. Turns out she was skimming donations. Robert's business is under scrutiny for several code violations. They're facing massive fines. Nicole's husband lost his job due to the association. The whole family is imploding. Good, Simone said, and she meant it. Vanessa left town, Catherine continued. Apparently she went back to her parents in Ohio. She's keeping the baby, but Trevor won't be part of its life. He signed away parental rights in exchange for not being sued for child support he could never afford. Simone felt a twinge of sadness for the baby, who had done nothing wrong but would grow up knowing their father was a criminal who abandoned them. But that was not Simone's burden to carry. What about the apartment? Simone asked. Sold. The new owners take possession next week. Your is being wired to your account. About $40,000. He took out a mortgage on my apartment? He needed money for his fraud schemes. But it's handled now. Everything is handled. You're free, Simone. Completely free. Free. The word felt strange. After 3 years of being trapped, of being told she was nothing and had nothing, she was suddenly free and had everything. Simone's last night in the country was spent at a nice hotel near the airport. She ordered room service, took a long bath, and slept better than she had in years. No one to criticize her. No one to belittle her. No one to steal from her. Just silence and peace. The next morning, she boarded a first-class flight to Paris. First class. She had never flown first class in her life. The seat was leather and wide. They brought her champagne and warm nuts. The flight attendants treated her with respect. It was such a small thing, but after years of being treated like she did not matter, it felt like a revelation. When the plane landed in Paris, a driver was waiting with her name on a sign. He took her luggage and drove her through the city, pointing out landmarks. Simone stared out the window at the beautiful buildings and cobblestone streets and felt like she was in a dream. The chateau was an hour outside the city. When they pulled up the long driveway and Simone saw it in person, she gasped. It was enormous, beautiful, ancient and elegant, and hers. All hers. The staff was waiting outside to greet her. A housekeeper named Marie, a groundskeeper named Jean, a chef named Philippe. They all bowed slightly as she approached. Welcome home, Madame Beaumont, Marie said in accented English. Home. This was home now. Simone was shown to her grandmother's rooms, which were now hers. The closet was bigger than most people's bedrooms. The bathroom had a tub so large she could swim in it. Marie helped her unpack. Your grandmother spoke of you often, she said. She regretted every day that she could not find you sooner. I wish I had known her, Simone said. She left you letters. And videos. She wanted you to know her even though she could not meet you. Videos. Simone had not known about videos. That night, after dinner prepared by Philippe that was better than any restaurant meal Simone had ever eaten, she sat in the library and watched the videos. There were dozens of them. Her grandmother sitting in this very room, talking to the camera, talking to Simone. My dear granddaughter, Colette said in the first video, her English perfect but accented. If you are watching this, then I have passed and you have finally been found. I'm so sorry we never met. It is my greatest regret. Simone watched video after video. Her grandmother told her stories about her life, about building her business, about loving Simone's grandfather who died young. She talked about Simone's mother, about their fight, about how she had been too proud to reach out, and by the time she tried, Michelle had died. I made mistakes, Colette said. I let pride keep me from my daughter. I will not let it keep me from you. This is all yours now. The chateau, the money, everything. But more than that, I want you to know who you are. You are a Beaumont. We are strong. We endure. We do not break. In the last video, recorded just weeks before she died, Colette looked tired but determined. I hope your life has been good, Simone. I hope you have been loved and valued. But if you have not, if the world has tried to make you small, remember this. You are descended from queens. From women who built empires. From survivors. You have everything you need inside you. Trust yourself. Trust your strength. And never, ever let anyone make you believe you are less than you are. Simone watched that last video 3 times. Then she went to bed in her grandmother's room, in this ancient chateau, and cried. She cried for everything she had lost. For the grandmother she never met. For the years wasted with Trevor. For the girl she used to be who thought she was worthless. But when she woke up the next morning to sunlight streaming through tall windows overlooking gardens that had been there for centuries, she was done crying. She was done being sad. She had mourned enough. Now it was time to live. Simone spent her first week in Paris meeting with lawyers and financial advisors. She learned about her businesses, her investments, her properties. It was overwhelming and thrilling and terrifying all at once. But she had good people helping her. Catherine flew over to ensure everything was legally sound. The estate lawyers were thorough and patient. Your grandmother built all of this, they told her. Now it's yours to maintain or grow or change as you see fit. You have complete control. Complete control. After years of controlling nothing, not even her own dignity, Simone now controlled hundreds of millions of dollars and multiple businesses. The irony was not lost on her. She also started a project her grandmother had mentioned in the letters. A foundation for women. Women escaping bad marriages. Women who needed resources and support. Women like Simone had been. I want to help women who feel trapped, Simone told her lawyers. Women who think they have nowhere to go. I want to give them options. Education. Legal help. Job training. Whatever they need. That's a wonderful legacy, Catherine said. It's what my grandmother would have wanted. It's what I want. The foundation was named Colette's Legacy. Within months, it was helping dozens of women. Within a year, hundreds. Simone poured her energy into it. She met with the women, heard their stories, saw herself in their struggles. And she helped them escape just like she had escaped. Back in the States, Trevor's story became a cautionary tale. His family's charity was shut down. Patricia and Robert faced fines that bankrupted them. They lost their mansion. Their social standing evaporated. Nicole and her husband moved to another state to escape the scandal. Vanessa had the baby, a girl, and by all accounts was struggling. Simone heard through Catherine that Vanessa had tried to sell her story to tabloids, but no one was interested. The story was about Trevor's crimes, not his mistress. Vanessa was just a footnote. And Trevor was in prison, exactly where he belonged. Simone did not think about him much. When she did, she felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Just nothing. He had become irrelevant to her life. A bad chapter that was over. Simone's life was just beginning. At 30 years old, she was one of the wealthiest women in Europe. She was building a legacy. She was happy. And she was finally free. 6 months after Simone left for Paris, the full extent of Trevor's crimes became public knowledge. The trial was covered extensively in financial news because his case exposed weaknesses in the security systems at Morrison and Fletcher. Simone did not attend the trial. Catherine represented her interests, ensuring that any stolen funds were returned with interest. Trevor sat in the courtroom looking nothing like the confident man who had once mocked Simone's background. He looked small, defeated, scared. His lawyer tried to argue that Trevor had acted out of pressure to maintain his lifestyle, that his family had expectations he could not meet, that he had made bad decisions but deserved leniency. The judge was not sympathetic. Mr. Montgomery, you stole from your employer, from your clients, and from your own wife, the judge said. You showed no remorse until you were caught. You planned to flee the country with stolen assets. The prosecution's recommendation of 5 years is lenient given the scope of your crimes. I'm inclined to agree with it. Trevor broke down crying in court. He begged for mercy. He apologized to everyone he had hurt. But his words rang hollow because everyone knew he was only sorry he had been caught. Vanessa did not attend the trial. She had given birth to a daughter 3 months earlier and was living with her parents in Ohio. According to reports Catherine received, she was struggling. Trevor had signed away all parental rights to avoid child support obligations. Vanessa was raising the baby alone, working at her father's hardware store, living in her childhood bedroom. Her dreams of being a wealthy man's wife had evaporated. Patricia's charity scandal broke 2 months after Trevor's arrest. The IRS investigation revealed that she had been taking donations meant for children's hospitals and using them for personal expenses. Designer clothes, luxury vacations, renovations to the mansion. She claimed it was for networking and charity business, but the evidence was clear. She had stolen nearly $300,000 over 5 years. The public outcry was intense. Patricia, who had spent years judging others and positioning herself as a pillar of the community, was exposed as a fraud. The shame was devastating. She and Robert had to sell their mansion to pay fines and legal fees. They moved to a modest condo in a different neighborhood where no one knew them. Their friends abandoned them. Their social circle dissolved. Nicole's life fell apart too. Her husband, Jeremy, lost his job because the company did not want the association with the Montgomery family scandal. They had to sell their house. Nicole, who had spent her whole life mocking people she deemed beneath her, had to get a regular job for the first time. She worked retail at a department store, dealing with the same kind of customers she used to look down on. Simone heard all of this through Catherine's reports. She did not celebrate their downfall. She did not gloat. She simply acknowledged it and moved on. Her life had become too full and meaningful to waste energy on people who no longer mattered. In Paris, Simone was thriving. She had learned French, at least enough to communicate with the staff and locals. She divided her time between the chateau and a penthouse she bought in Paris proper. She traveled frequently, visiting the other properties she owned, exploring Europe, seeing parts of the world she had only dreamed about before. But more importantly, she was building something meaningful with Colette's legacy. The foundation had expanded beyond France. It now operated in 6 countries, helping women escape abusive marriages, providing legal aid, funding education, offering job training. Simone personally interviewed candidates for the foundation's leadership team. She wanted people who understood struggle, who had empathy, who would treat the women they served with dignity. One afternoon, Simone received an email from an unexpected source. It was from Rosa, the housekeeper from Patricia's mansion, the woman who had been kind to Simone on that awful birthday night. Dear Mrs. Rivers, the email began. I hope this message finds you well. I wanted to reach out because I heard about your foundation through a friend. I'm so proud of what you've accomplished. I always knew you were special, even when they treated you so badly. I'm writing because I have a niece who is in a difficult marriage. She has nowhere to turn. Could your foundation help her? Simone immediately responded. Please have your niece contact the foundation. We will help her in any way we can. And Rosa, thank you for always being kind to me. I never forgot it. Rosa's niece did contact the foundation. Her name was Isabel, and she was trapped in a marriage with a man who controlled all the finances and isolated her from her family. The foundation helped her get out, provided her with legal representation in the divorce, and funded her education to become a nurse. 2 years later, Isabel was thriving. She sent Simone a photo of herself in her nursing scrubs with a letter that said, "You saved my life. I will never forget it." Stories like Isabel's kept Simone going. Every woman the foundation helped was a reminder of why the pain she had endured was worth something, why she could not give up, why revenge was less important than making sure other women did not suffer the same way. But the universe was not done with Trevor and his family yet. 7 months after his sentencing, while Trevor was in prison, Patricia's health declined rapidly. The stress of the scandal, the loss of her lifestyle, the public humiliation, it all took a toll. She had a heart attack and died in the hospital with only Robert by her side. Nicole did not make it in time. Trevor was denied compassionate release to attend the funeral. Simone heard about Patricia's death through a news alert. She sat in her Paris penthouse, looking out over the city, and tried to feel something. Sadness? Satisfaction? But there was nothing. Patricia had made her choices. She had built a life on cruelty and judgment and theft. In the end, it had destroyed her. Nicole sent Simone an email after Patricia's funeral. It was the first time they had communicated since that night in the apartment. I know you hate us, the email said. I know we deserve it. But my mother is dead. My father is broken. My brother is in prison. I've lost everything. I'm not asking for money or help. I just wanted you to know that we're sorry. I'm sorry. For everything. You didn't deserve how we treated you. I hope you're happy wherever you are. Simone read the email 3 times. She thought about responding. About accepting the apology. About offering some kind of forgiveness. But she could not bring herself to do it. The apology had come too late and only after Nicole had lost everything. It was not genuine remorse. It was grief and desperation. So Simone did not respond. She simply archived the email and moved on with her day. As the year went on, Simone noticed changes in herself. She was more confident, more assured. She carried herself differently. She wore clothes that fit properly and made her feel beautiful. She got her hair done at fancy salons. She went to galas and fundraisers and held her own in conversations with wealthy donors and sophisticated business people. The girl who had been told she was worthless was gone. In her place was a woman who knew her value and refused to accept anything less. One evening, at a fundraiser for Colette's legacy in London, Simone gave a speech. She stood in front of hundreds of people, wealthy donors, politicians, celebrities, and told her story. Not all of it. She did not name Trevor or his family. But she talked about being in a marriage where she was devalued, about feeling trapped, about finding the strength to leave. "I was lucky," she said. "I had resources that helped me escape. But so many women don't. They stay because they can't afford to leave. They stay because they think they have no options. They stay because the world has told them they're worthless. That's why this foundation exists. To tell women they're not worthless. To give them options. To help them escape and rebuild." The room erupted in applause. People stood. Some were crying. After her own stories, to thank her for her work. That night, Simone realized something profound. Trevor and his family had tried to break her. They had tried to make her believe she was nothing. But instead, they had forged her into someone stronger. Someone who could help thousands of women. Someone who could build a legacy that mattered. Their cruelty had backfired in the worst way possible. Instead of destroying her, they had created someone powerful. Someone who would ensure their story was remembered not for their wealth or status, but for their failure. For being the people who had been too blind to see the treasure they had in their midst. Simone did not hate them anymore. She pitied them. Because they would spend the rest of their lives knowing they had thrown away something precious. And there was no way to get it back. Meanwhile, Trevor sat in prison serving his time. According to Catherine's contacts, he spent his days in the library, reading and keeping to himself. He was a model prisoner, hoping for early release. He had written several letters to Simone through Catherine, begging for forgiveness, asking to talk. Simone never read them. Catherine kept them filed away, unread. "Do you want me to tell him to stop?" Catherine asked during one of their video calls. "No," Simone said. "Let him write. Let him beg. Let him sit in that cell and think about what he lost. That's his punishment. Not the bars. Not the time. It's knowing he destroyed the best thing that ever happened to him." And it was true. Trevor would be released eventually. He would get out and try to rebuild his life. But he would always be the man who stole from his company and his wife. Who betrayed everyone who trusted him. Who went to prison for fraud. That would follow him forever. The Montgomery family would never recover their reputation. Patricia was dead. Robert was a broken man living in a small condo, estranged from his remaining children. Nicole was working retail, struggling to pay bills. Trevor was in prison. Their name, once associated with wealth and status, was now synonymous with fraud and cruelty. And Simone? Simone was living in a chateau in France, running a foundation that changed lives. Building a legacy that would outlast all of them. She had won. Not because she had sought revenge, though she had definitely achieved it, but because she had built something beautiful from the ashes of her pain. That was the greatest victory of all. Simone's second year in Paris marked her complete transformation from the woman Trevor had tried to break into the woman she was always meant to be. She stopped dyeing her hair to look more professional and let her natural curls return. She bought clothes that she actually liked instead of what she thought others expected. She took up painting, something she had loved as a child but given up because Trevor said it was a waste of time. She traveled to Japan, South Africa, Brazil, places she had only dreamed about before. But the most important transformation was internal. Simone learned to trust herself, to believe in her own judgment, to stop questioning whether she deserved good things. The little voice in her head that had always said she was not good enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough, that voice was gone. In its place was confidence. Not arrogance. Just a quiet certainty that she had value and anyone who could not see it was the problem, not her. The foundation continued to grow. Colette's legacy now operated in 12 countries and had helped over 3,000 women. Simone hired a brilliant director named Gabrielle, a French woman who had escaped an abusive marriage 20 years earlier and dedicated her life to helping others do the same. With Gabrielle running daily operations, Simone could focus on fundraising and expansion. They opened safe houses where women could stay while they got back on their feet. They partnered with law firms to provide free legal representation. They created job training programs in technology, finance, and entrepreneurship. They even started a scholarship fund for women who wanted to go back to school but could not afford it. Every woman who walked through their doors received the same message: you matter. You are valued. You deserve better. It was the message Simone wished someone had given her years ago. Now she was giving it to others. Simone's social media presence grew as well. She had never been much for posting online, but Gabrielle convinced her that sharing her journey could inspire others. Simone started an Instagram account documenting her travels, her work with the foundation, and her new life. She did not mention Trevor or the past directly. She just showed her life now, vibrant, full, happy. The account gained followers quickly. Women who had been in similar situations found hope in her story. Wealthy donors found a cause worth supporting. Media outlets started reaching out for interviews about her journey from poverty and abuse to freedom and purpose. One post in particular went viral. It was a photo of Simone standing in front of her grandmother's chateau at sunset, looking confident and radiant. The caption read, "3 years ago, I was told I was worthless. I was mocked for my background, my clothes, my education. I was made to feel small. Today, I stand in front of a home that has been in my family for generations, running a foundation that changes lives, living a life I never dreamed possible." To anyone who feels trapped, your current situation is not your final destination. By celebrities and influencers. Simone's foundation received so many donations after that post that they had to hire additional staff to process them all. The story of the woman who went from nothing to everything resonated with people around the world. Of course, Trevor saw the post. He was still in prison but had limited internet access. Catherine informed Simone that Trevor had sent another letter, this one full of rage and jealousy. He could not believe Simone was doing so well while he rotted in prison. He accused her of deliberately destroying his life. The lack of self-awareness would have been funny if it were not so pathetic. Simone did not read that letter either. She was done giving Trevor any space in her mind. He was the past. She was focused on the future. As part of her transformation, Simone also worked on her health. She hired a personal trainer and nutritionist, not to change how she looked but to feel stronger and more energetic. She started running in the mornings through the chateau grounds. She learned to cook healthy meals with Philippe teaching her in the massive chateau kitchen. She took up yoga and meditation. The goal was not perfection. It was wellness, balance, taking care of herself in all the ways she had neglected during her marriage. Simone also reconnected with old friends from before Trevor. People she had drifted away from because he had made her feel like she did not deserve them. She flew to the States and visited old college friends, surprising them with how much she had changed. They spent weekends catching up, laughing, being young again in the ways they never got to be before. "You're so different," her friend Tasha said over dinner in New York. "I mean, you were always great, but now you're like, fully yourself. You glow." "I'm finally free," Simone said. "That's what you're seeing. I'm not trying to be someone else anymore." During that trip to New York, Simone also bought a penthouse in Manhattan. She wanted a home base in the States, a place she could stay when she visited for foundation work. The penthouse was modern and bright, overlooking Central Park. She decorated it herself, filling it with art and books and comfortable furniture. Everything in it was hers, chosen by her, paid for by her. It felt like power. The New York Post somehow found out about the purchase and ran a story, "Local woman who escaped fraudster husband now living in $15 million penthouse." The article rehashed Trevor's crimes and Simone's inheritance, painting her as a fairy tale success story. Simone did not love the attention, but the foundation received another surge of donations, so she accepted it. Around the same time, a literary agent reached out. Publishers were interested in Simone's story. Would she consider writing a memoir? At first, Simone said no. She did not want to relive the pain, did not want to give Trevor and his family any more attention. But her agent convinced her that the book could help women in similar situations see a path forward. "Your story has power," the agent said. "Not because of the money, though that's dramatic, but because you show that you can survive betrayal. You can rebuild. You can thrive. Women need to hear that." Simone agreed to write the book. She worked with a ghostwriter, someone who helped her organize her thoughts and memories into a coherent narrative. The process was harder than she expected. Revisiting those years of pain, of humiliation, of feeling worthless, it brought up emotions she thought she had processed. But it was also cathartic. She got to tell her side of the story. Got to explain why she stayed as long as she did. Got to show that leaving was not easy, but it was necessary. The book was titled From Ashes: How I Found Myself After Losing Everything. It came out 18 months after Simone moved to Paris and immediately hit bestseller lists. The reviews were glowing. Readers connected with her honesty. Women wrote her letters saying the book had inspired them to leave bad situations. Men wrote saying it made them examine how they treated the women in their lives. Trevor, still in prison, somehow got a copy. He sent another letter, this one through his lawyer since Simone had blocked all direct contact. He claimed she had misrepresented him in the book. Threatened to sue for defamation. Simone's legal team laughed at the threat. Everything in the book was documented truth. Trevor had no case. The letter was just another desperate attempt to regain some control. Simone did not respond. She let her lawyers send a formal cease contact letter and moved on. Trevor was a footnote in her story now, not the main character. That was how it should be. By the end of her second year in Paris, Simone had become someone she was proud of. She had wealth, yes, but more importantly, she had purpose. She had friends who valued her. She had work that mattered. She had a future she was excited about. The woman Trevor had treated like trash was gone. In her place was Simone Beaumont, philanthropist, author, advocate. A woman who knew her worth and refused to settle for anything less than she deserved. And the best part? She was only getting started. There were more women to help. More countries to visit. More life to live. The transformation was complete, but the journey was just beginning. Simone's life had settled into a comfortable rhythm. She spent half the year at the chateau in France, the other half traveling for the foundation or staying at her New York penthouse. She had found balance, purpose. She was content, not waiting for anything or anyone to complete her. Just happy. Then she met Julian. It happened at a charity gala in London. Colette's legacy was partnering with a UK organization that provided housing for homeless women. The event was at a historic hotel, filled with diplomats and celebrities and wealthy donors. Simone was used to these events now. She knew how to work a room, how to make meaningful connections, how to inspire people to open their checkbooks. She was talking to a potential donor when she felt someone watching her. She turned and saw a man across the room. He was tall, with warm brown skin and kind eyes. He was not dressed as formally as the other guests. He wore a nice suit, but it looked comfortable rather than designer. And he was staring at her with an expression she had not seen in a long time. Genuine interest. Not greed or calculation. Just interest. When their eyes met, he smiled and raised his glass slightly in acknowledgement. Simone smiled back and turned back to her conversation. But she was aware of him the rest of the evening. And when the speeches ended and people mingled for dessert, he approached her. Simone Beaumont, he said, his accent placing him as South African. I've wanted to meet you all evening. I'm Julian Ndlovu. Nice to meet you, Simone said, shaking his hand. His grip was firm but gentle. Your speech was incredible. The work you're doing with the foundation, it's remarkable. I work in architecture, specifically designing low-cost housing for vulnerable populations. I've been following Colette's legacy for months. Your approach is innovative. They talked for over an hour. Julian explained his work building sustainable, affordable housing in South Africa and Mozambique. He was passionate about creating spaces that gave people dignity, not just shelter. Simone found herself genuinely engaged, asking questions, sharing ideas about how their organizations might collaborate. I have to admit something, Julian said eventually. I didn't know who you were before tonight. I mean, I knew about the foundation, but I didn't know your story. Someone at my table mentioned you inherited a fortune and used it to help women escape abuse. That's powerful. Thank you, Simone said, appreciating that he seemed more interested in the work than the money. Would you want to have coffee sometime? I'm in London for another week. I'd love to discuss potential collaboration. Unless that's too forward? Simone hesitated. She had not been on anything resembling a date since leaving Trevor. Had not even thought about romance. Her life was full enough without it. But something about Julian felt safe. Comfortable. Coffee would be nice, she said. They met 2 days later at a cafe in Notting Hill. Simone arrived early, nervous in a way she had not been in years. But when Julian walked in, wearing jeans and a sweater, looking relaxed and real, her nerves settled. They ordered coffee and talked for 3 hours. About work, yes, but also about books and music and childhoods. Julian told her about growing up in Johannesburg during apartheid's end, about his parents who were both teachers, about studying architecture in London and deciding to use his degree to help people rather than design mansions for the wealthy. My parents always said education was the path to freedom, Julian said. I took that literally. If I can help create spaces where people feel free and safe, then I'm doing my part. Simone told him about her grandmother, about never knowing she existed until after she died, about inheriting wealth and deciding to use it for good. She did not mention Trevor. Not yet. That was a story for another time, if ever. By the end of coffee, they had made plans to meet again. And again. Julian's week in London turned into 2 weeks, then 3. He kept finding reasons to stay. Business meetings. Architecture tours. Totally legitimate reasons, he insisted, laughing. On their 5th meeting, Julian took Simone to a quiet park and they sat on a bench watching ducks in a pond. "I need to be honest with you," he said. "I'm not staying for meetings. I'm staying because I like spending time with you. I know you're busy and important and probably have no time for this, but I wanted you to know." Simone's heart did something strange. Something she had forgotten it could do. "I like spending time with you too," she said quietly. "Yeah." Julian smiled. "Good. Because I was worried I was being that guy who hangs around making everyone uncomfortable." They started dating slowly. Julian had to return to South Africa for work, but they video called daily. He sent her photos of building projects. She sent him updates on the foundation. They talked about everything and nothing. It was easy, natural. No games. No hidden agendas. Just 2 people who enjoyed each other's company. A month later, Julian visited Simone at the chateau. She was nervous showing him her home, worried he might be overwhelmed by the wealth. But Julian walked through the historic halls and beautiful gardens with appreciation, not intimidation. "This is incredible," he said. "The history in these walls. Your grandmother had good taste. You're not weird about it?" Simone asked. "The money? The houses? Should I be?" Julian looked genuinely confused. "Simone, I like you. You could live in a studio apartment or a palace, it wouldn't change that. The money is just money. It's what you do with it that matters. And you're doing good things." It was the right answer. The perfect answer. Simone felt something she had not felt in years. Trust. Over the next few months, they continued building their relationship. Julian met Gabrielle and the foundation team. Simone flew to South Africa and met Julian's parents, who were warm and welcoming and asked about her work rather than her bank account. They visited his building projects together, and Simone was impressed by what he had created. Simple, sturdy homes for families who had been living in shacks. Community centers with clean water and electricity. Schools that actually had windows and desks. "This is your legacy," Simone said, walking through a completed neighborhood in Johannesburg. "You're changing lives just like I'm trying to do. Maybe we can change more lives together," Julian said, taking her hand. They started collaborating professionally. Colette's legacy began partnering with Julian's organization to build housing for women leaving abusive situations. Not just temporary shelters but real homes where they could start new lives. The model was so successful they expanded it to 3 countries. 6 months into their relationship, they were in New York for a foundation event when Trevor's name came up. A journalist asked Simone about her book, about her former husband. Julian had read the book but they had never discussed it in detail. That night in the penthouse, Julian asked, "Do you want to talk about it?" About him. Simone considered saying no, but Julian deserved to know. So she told him everything. The humiliation, the theft, the affair, the way Trevor and his family had made her feel worthless. And Julian listened without interrupting, his hand holding hers the entire time. When she finished, he said, "Thank you for telling me. I'm sorry you went through that. No one deserves to be treated that way. It made me who I am now," Simone said. "I don't regret leaving. I regret staying as long as I did." "Do you worry about trusting someone again?" "I did," Simone admitted. "But with you it's different. You see me. Not my money or my connections. Just me. That's rare." "You are rare," Julian said softly. "I'm lucky you gave me a chance." A year into their relationship, at a quiet dinner in Paris, Julian proposed. No ring because he wanted to pick it out together. No grand gesture. Just him looking at her across the table saying, "I love you. I want to build a life with you. Will you marry me?" Simone said yes. Not because she needed marriage or a man to complete her, but because Julian was her partner, her equal, someone who enhanced her life rather than diminishing it. The difference between him and Trevor was night and day. When news of their engagement spread, someone sent Catherine a message to forward to Simone. It was from Trevor. He had been released from prison early for good behavior and was apparently back in the city, working at a car rental company. The message said he had heard about the engagement and wanted to warn Simone that all men were the same, that she would be disappointed again, that she should be careful. Simone deleted the message without responding. Trevor's opinion meant nothing. His attempt to poison her happiness was pathetic. She was marrying a good man. A kind man. A man who saw her value and treasured it. Trevor could stay in his bitterness and regret. She was done giving him space in her life. The engagement party was at the chateau. Friends from around the world attended. Gabrielle gave a toast about how Simone had shown her what it meant to rise from ashes. Julian's parents welcomed Simone into their family with open arms. Tasha, Simone's old friend, cried happy tears and said, "You deserve this. All of this." As Simone stood in the chateau gardens, surrounded by people who loved and valued her, with Julian's arm around her waist, she felt complete. Not because of the engagement, but because she had built a life worth living. A life filled with purpose and love and joy. The scared, broken woman who had left her marriage 3 years ago was gone. In her place was someone strong and whole. Trevor and his family had tried to destroy her. Instead, they had freed her. Freed her to become the woman she was always meant to be. And for that, in a strange way, she was almost grateful. Almost. 1 year later, Simone and Julian stood in the gardens of the chateau, exchanging vows in front of 200 guests. The wedding was elegant but personal. Simone wore a dress she designed with a French couturier, simple and beautiful. Julian wore a suit from a black-owned tailor in Johannesburg. The ceremony blended both their cultures, with readings in English, French, and Zulu. When they kissed as husband and wife, the guests erupted in applause. Simone felt tears on her cheeks, but they were happy tears. Tears of joy and relief and gratitude. She had made it. She had survived the worst and built the best. The reception was joyful. Dancing and music and toasts that made people laugh and cry. Gabrielle spoke about Simone's impact on the foundation. Julian's mother welcomed Simone into the family with a blessing in Zulu. Tasha told embarrassing stories from college that made everyone laugh. But the most meaningful moment came near the end of the night. Rosa, the housekeeper from Patricia's mansion, approached Simone with tears in her eyes. "I'm so happy for you," she said. "You remember me?" "Of course I remember you," Simone said, hugging her. "You were one of the only people who was kind to me back then. I always knew you were special. I always knew you would do great things. And look at you now." Rosa handed her a small wrapped gift. "This is from Isabel, my niece, the one your foundation helped. She wanted you to have it." Simone opened the gift. It was a photo frame with a picture of Isabel in her nursing scrubs, standing in front of a hospital. On the back was an inscription, "You saved my life. Now I save lives. Thank you. Always, Isabel." Simone held the frame close and cried. This was why everything had been worth it. This was the real victory. Not the money or the revenge or even the happy ending with Julian. It was knowing she had turned her pain into purpose. That she had helped others escape the kind of suffering she had endured. Later, as she and Julian danced under string lights in the garden, he whispered, "Happy?" "Incredibly," Simone replied. "I never thought I could be this happy. You deserve it. All of it. We both do." The next morning, Simone and Julian left for their honeymoon. They spent 3 weeks traveling through South Africa, showing Simone the country Julian loved. They visited his hometown, the places where he grew up, the schools his parents had taught at. They went on safari and saw lions and elephants and sunsets that took Simone's breath away. And somewhere during those weeks, Simone realized she had completely let go of the past. Trevor was just a memory. Not even a painful one anymore. Just a chapter in her story that had led her here, to this beautiful life with this wonderful man. When they returned to the chateau, there was news waiting. The foundation had received a grant for $15 million from a tech billionaire who had read Simone's book. With that money, they could expand to 10 more countries. They could help thousands more women. The impact would be generational. "Your grandmother would be so proud," Julian said as they read the email together. "I hope so," Simone said. "I hope she's watching somehow. I hope she knows I'm using what she gave me to help others." The foundation continued to grow. By the end of the year, Colette's legacy was operating in 20 countries and had helped over 10,000 women escape abusive situations. Simone's book had been translated into 30 languages. She had become an internationally recognized advocate for women's rights and empowerment. But she never forgot where she came from. She still visited the safe houses personally. Still talked to the women who came through the doors scared and broken. Still remembered what it felt like to be trapped and hopeless. 3 years after the wedding, Simone gave birth to a daughter. They named her Colette, after Simone's grandmother. The baby had Julian's eyes and Simone's smile, and she was perfect. Holding her daughter for the first time, Simone made a promise. This child would grow up knowing her worth, would never doubt her value, would be raised by parents who loved and respected each other. Colette would never know what it felt like to be treated like trash. She would grow up watching her mother change lives and her father build homes for those who needed them. She would understand that privilege came with responsibility, that wealth was only meaningful if used for good. Around the same time Colette was born, Simone received a letter. It was delivered through Catherine with a note. "He's been trying to send this for months. I thought you should decide whether to read it or not." The letter was from Trevor. He had been out of prison for over 2 years now. The letter was long and rambling, full of apologies and explanations. He talked about therapy and redemption and how he understood now what he had lost. He said he followed Simone's work and was proud of what she had built. He asked for forgiveness. Not for them to get back together. He acknowledged that was impossible. Just forgiveness. For his own peace. Simone read the letter once, then put it in a drawer. She did not respond. Maybe that made her cold or unforgiving. But she had built her peace without his apology. She did not need his closure. He could find his own way to redemption, but it would not involve her. She did, however, make one gesture. She donated money to a program that helped former prisoners reintegrate into society. Not for Trevor specifically, but because she believed in second chances for people who genuinely wanted to change. If Trevor was serious about his redemption, he would have resources available. What he did with them was up to him. As for Patricia's memory, the scandal had faded but not disappeared. The Montgomery family name was still tainted. Robert had died quietly of pneumonia a year earlier, his obituary barely mentioning his wife or children. Nicole had moved to Oregon and changed her last name. She worked as a teacher now, apparently a good one. Simone heard she had written a letter to the foundation apologizing and asking if she could volunteer. The board, not knowing the history, had accepted her. Simone let it be. If Nicole wanted to do good work, that was fine. They did not need to interact. Vanessa had also rebuilt her life. She had married a plumber and had 2 more children. According to the private investigator's final report years ago, she worked as a secretary and seemed content in her modest life. Her daughter with Trevor was reportedly doing well, with no contact with her biological father. Simone wished the child well. The girl had done nothing wrong. Trevor himself was apparently still working at the car rental company. He lived alone in a small apartment. He had paid back about 15% of what he owed Morrison and Fletcher and would be paying it back for the rest of his life. He would never be wealthy again. Never have the life he thought he deserved. And Simone felt nothing about it. Not satisfaction. Not pity. Just indifference. On Colette's first birthday, Simone held a small party at the chateau. Julian's parents flew in from South Africa. Gabrielle brought her teenage daughter. Tasha came with her wife. Rosa and Isabel attended, Isabel bringing her young son. The house was full of love and laughter and life. As Simone looked around at all the people who mattered, her husband, her daughter, her chosen family, she realized she had won in every way that mattered. Not because she had destroyed Trevor and his family, though they had certainly destroyed themselves, but because she had built something beautiful from the ruins of her pain. She was Simone Beaumont, philanthropist, author, advocate, wife, mother, heir to a legacy of strength and resilience. And most importantly, she was free. The woman Trevor had thrown away like trash had become a treasure. The girl his family had mocked had become a queen. And they would spend the rest of their lives knowing they had held a fortune in their hands and thrown it away because they were too blind to see its value. That night, after the party, Simone sat in her grandmother's library with baby Colette sleeping in her arms. She looked at the portrait of Colette Beaumont hanging above the fireplace, a strong woman with kind eyes who had never stopped searching for her granddaughter. "I hope I made you proud, Grandmere," Simone whispered. "I hope you're watching. I hope you know I took what you gave me and made it matter." In the quiet of the ancient chateau, surrounded by centuries of history and the promise of the future sleeping in her arms, Simone felt at peace. The journey from despair to joy had been long and painful, but every step had been worth it. She was home. She was loved. She was valued. And she would never, ever be treated like trash again. The story had come full circle.